Well, critically ill patients who need organ transplants are in a race against the clock. Unfortunately, most of the time is not on their side. Almost anyone can be an organ donor, regardless of their health status. However, many do not take the step of registering to become a donor out of fear, although those fears are oftentimes unfounded. Unfortunately, misinformation and fear prevent many of us from providing this life-saving gift. We talk about the importance of organ donation and dispel some of the myths around it. Joining us is Samantha Nichols, Executive Director of Operation at Organ Donation South Africa. We also have Palesa Mokomele, who's the Head of Community Engagement and Communications at DKMS Africa. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Palesa, for joining us. Let me start the conversation. Sure, it's a pleasure. Let me start the conversation with you, Samantha. Let's talk about organ donation, organ transplants. Can you help us understand what it is?
So really, organ donation and tissue donation is when when they remove an organ or tissue from a donor and it's implanted into a recipient to either restore their health or improve their quality of life.
Okay, tell us a little bit more, because when you do donate, many people don't know what kind of organs you can donate, what part of your body you can donate. Could you help us understand that?
Absolutely. So you can donate your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, and your pancreas. Obviously, when you are deceased, when you pass away one day, it has to be in a very specific situation. Normally, you need to have been in a car accident or had to have some sort of traumatic death to land up in a hospital, on a ventilator, so that your organs are still viable. You can donate a kidney and part of your liver while you're alive. Many people do that in South Africa, especially kidney donation, so you can live with a normal life with one kidney.
Sure.
And then you can also donate tissue. Tissue can improve the quality of up to 50 people's lives. Also, when you pass away, your corneas can restore sight. Your skin is life-saving. You know, people that have been very badly burnt. And then bone, skin, corneas, and heart valves can also be donated to improve quality of life or restore life.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Samantha. Let me come to Palesa. Palesa, welcome on the show. Let's talk a little bit about DKMS Africa. What do you guys do, and why are you involved in this area of donation?
So we are an international non-profit organization that's dedicated to the fight against blood cancer and blood disorders. So we do a different kind of donation, which is your stem cells. Many people struggle to find matching stem cell donors, and therefore we find unrelated matching stem cell donors for patients all over the world.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are stem cells? Someone might say, oh, Ben, you know, we all know what stem cells, but no, not everyone know what stem cells are and what kind of donations go with stem cells. Could you help us understand that further?
Absolutely. So stem cells are basically your bone marrow. With a patient who needs a stem cell transplantation, their blood is malfunctioning, and therefore they almost need a new engine. And this is what we do at DKMS. The process itself is a little bit complicated in the sense that before we get to the process of donation, we first need to establish that two separate people or two strangers, in many cases, share the same genetic makeup, right, or the same genetic markers. And so there's a medical test involved before the person actually gets to donate. But the stem cells are brought into your bloodstream, and this is how they're taken from your body. So there's no drilling into bones, which is some of the misconceptions that people have. The stem cells come from inside your bone into your bloodstream, and then that's how then you get to do the donation.
Well, that's quite fascinating, and I really want to get into that a little bit later. But I'm going to bring back Samantha into this conversation when we're speaking about organ donation. There's a lot of fear associated with people donating their organs, which is probably why there's a huge issue with recipients or those who need those donations to actually receive them. What do you think are some of the biggest fears that people have about donating their organs?
I think the one of the biggest is that people think that doctors will remove organs before you've died. So we always say to people, doctors are there. They are there to save your life. And the team that is called in to remove the organs, or actually not even to remove the organs, the team that's called in to ask the family for permission. So there's a whole process involved. I've actually been able to witness removal of organs from a donor in a hospital situation, and the process that's involved there is so many steps involved. Consent is required from the family. The doctors have to two doctors who are independent of the transplant team have to do tests to ensure that brain death is certified. It's internationally recognized tests. The person can never recover. It's not like being in a coma. So I think the biggest fear for people is that doctors or organs will be removed before they die or because someone lands up in a specific situation, and that's not true. So we want to reassure people that, every single test and process is followed meticulously, and it's quite a process. And then the families ask for consent at the point where there is nothing more that can be done. And also the body will naturally give in. So after a few hours, 12 to 24 hours, even on a ventilator, the person will die. So it's at that point where they then speak to the family. I think other misconceptions or fears, people think that it's going to cost us a lot of money. There's no cost to the family at all. Once the organs a person's been diagnosed brain dead, from the point of removal, speaking to the family, etc., there's no cost to transport the organs or any cost to the family at all, or to the state of the person who is the donor. Other examples, I suppose, would be delays to burials or funerals, and there is no delay. If you're a Muslim, they would take into account that you need to be buried within the day, so they would do everything to sort of follow the correct process. So if there's something that your religion or culture, specifically, if you need to be buried the same day or whatever it may be, they will make sure that they adhere to those things. And so I think those are the biggest misconceptions around or fears around organ and tissue donation.
All right, we'll speak more on this, Samantha and Palesa. Stay there on the line. We're speaking to Samantha Nichols, Executive Director of Operation at Organ Donation South Africa, Palesa Mokomele, Head of Community Engagement and Communications at DKMS Africa. We'll continue to debunk what we think about organ donation, but also more importantly, learn a little bit more.
Africa at Play with NATO and ETO Chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands, and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under-20 and under-18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back to Algeria to organize the under-18 and under-20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the British Federation, they are identifying young talent every year within their national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. Step into the heart of the day on the move with Palesa and Benjamin.
We're talking about the importance of organ donation and dispelling some of the myths and misconceptions about it. Still joining us on the line is the Executive Director of Operation at Organ Donation South Africa, Samantha Nichols, as well as Palesa Mokomele, Head of Community Engagement and Communications at DKMS Africa, who deal with stem cell donations. I'm going to come back to you, Samantha. people aren't as afraid as we think we know. In fact, there's also a large problem that is, directly affecting the organ donation process. And these are illegal organ donations. You said a little bit earlier that there are some of those organs that we can donate while we are alive and can still continue to live a healthy life. How does the illegal trade of organ donation really affect the organ donor industry?
So we aren't aware of any sort of illegal trade in South Africa. We also aren't involved in any of the medical side of things. Our job as an organization is to create awareness and educate the public, but we know there's very strict processes in place. For example, if you want to donate a kidney to a loved one or a friend, the process has to be approved by the Department of Health, and it goes right up to the Minister of Health for approval. We know this because we're at the moment assisting with building a system to sort of make it an electronic process for living donation. So we know that it's such a big process that has to be followed in terms of applications, approval, making sure the person is healthy enough to donate, sound enough in terms of their mind so that they know what they're doing, no money exchanging hands, so it's not an illegal process. So we know that in terms of the processes that are followed, it's a very strict process. And we aren't aware of any, and it doesn't really affect in the work that we do.
Yeah.
We have never been approached by the public saying, I'm scared to donate because I've heard there's illegal trade, etc. So I think that in itself is not something that would stop people from donating. The one thing that people always say to us, I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So it's about education, it's about awareness, and really just making people aware of how easy the process is. People think it's tests that you have to undergo. You're talking to DKMS. We don't even have tests that you need to do to become an organ donor. All you need to do is sign up on our website, talk to your family, and let them know that your wish is to be an organ donor. It's such a simple process, and that's the sort of issues we have in terms of awareness and education.
Yeah, I was actually saying earlier that many of us think of the conversation of organ donation from a perspective of ourselves donating the organs. And of course, that's where the fears and the misconceptions come in. And we're like, yeah, I'm not sure if I want to donate or not. But on the other side, we ourselves never think of ourselves as one day needing to be a recipient of an organ.
Absolutely.
So how many people are currently waiting for an organ transplant, and how long do they typically have to wait? Because we need to realize that it's not just about us donating the organs, but one day we may need to be recipients of organs ourselves.
Absolutely. So waiting lists are between 3,500 to 4,300 adults and children. Lots of kids waiting.
Sure, that's a lot.
The biggest number of patients or biggest group of patients is for kidneys. Kidneys in South Africa, African people are more pre-genetically disposed to kidney failure. There's an increase in lifestyle diseases, diabetes and hypertension, which leads to kidney failure. There's a lot of preventative education that's needed in terms of looking after yourself to prevent yourself needing a kidney. The reality is there aren't enough living donors. A lot of people are very scared to come forward and donate a kidney to their loved ones or family members or friends. They don't know enough about it. So the patients who wait on the waiting list for a kidney transplant, although they can receive dialysis treatment, but there are not enough dialysis facilities in the government sector. So some people are turned away and sent home to die because they just can't help everyone.
Yeah.
Patients can wait 5 to 12 years for a kidney transplant if they don't have a living donor. With hearts and lungs and other organs, it's a really just if the person is in a dire need of a heart, so say for instance their heart function is at X%, so 40% or 10%, they will die if they don't receive the organ in time. Okay. So it really depends on the organ and the matches between donor and recipient. But for a kidney, they can wait many, many years for a kidney transplant.
All right, let's come back to you, Palesa, in terms of stem cell donation. How does it work? Is it the same as donating any other organs, or is it different?
No, it's quite different. So the process starts off with swabbing the inside of your mouth, which we courier to you wherever you are. And once you've completed that, you go into a registry, which is a global registry. And you only get to donate your stem cells once you have been identified as a matched stem cell donor. And this is usually triggered by a patient needing matching your genetic markers, and then the process begins, where then you start to do tests to determine whether you have any illnesses, because whatever stem cells are given to the patient, so whatever illnesses the donor has, the patient will also get them if these tests are not done. So these are super important. And then the process is done in a private facility, and it's a little bit complicated, but I think what we've found to be extremely beneficial is really in contact education and awareness at universities, different corporates, because we have managed to grow the registry, particularly among Black people, because this is where we see the lowest rates in terms of education and awareness. So I think the willingness to acquire information is there from communities. People want to help out, we South Africans.
Yeah.
But the challenge with our organizations is that we need to really ramp up the education and awareness and make these more conversational lifestyle conversations that not only just debunk the myths, but also just it's a conversation. What happens if one of us needs an organ or one of us needs help, and they can't necessarily get help from one of us? How do we rely on strangers, and what can we do to also play it forward? That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and some people are of the view that stem cell donation is painful and they're not eligible to donate. Who can donate, and is it a painful experience?
It's not a painful experience. It's not a painful experience. People who have donated have gone home after the donation or after the stem cells were taken from their body. So they often say that they experienced a little bit of a headache or felt a bit feverish, but we look after them for years after they have donated. And I think the beauty of it is that the patient who's waiting for the stem cells is, that's their last chance to live. So the beauty of it all is that someone else really gets to live a much improved life, and often this is their only chance to have a second chance to live. People between the ages of 17 and 55 years old and in general good health are encouraged to register on DKMSAfrica.org.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for your time. I think this is quite informative, and hopefully more and more people realize the importance of donating organs, and also realize the importance that they may one day also be in need of, stem cells or organs. And so it's important for each one of us to make that decision. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us on the show.
That's the Executive Director of Operation at Organ Donation South Africa, Samantha Nichols, as well as Head of Community Engagement and Communications at DKMS Africa,